Not only do we need to have a growing pool of state resources just to kind of maintain the same level of services as population grows and we have inflation and whatnot, but we also have the need for whole new investments, new levels of investment compared to what we had to do in the past. So if you think back to that chart that showed the distribution of jobs in the state comparing 1947 to 2008, where you had so many jobs that you could successfully do and have a career and support a family and without a high school education. That's not the economy we live in. We need a whole different kind of education system today than we needed certainly 60 years ago, but even going back 20 years, we have different demands on our education system today. So I'm sure you all know we passed a new definition of basic education in the last legislative session, and one that was long overdue. It adds full-day kindergarten for all kids as part of basic education that the state is responsible to pay for. Not yet, but someday soon. It adds preschool for low-income kids. If we're going to have these new higher standards that we expect every child to be able to reach, some kids, and actually a substantial proportion, and not just low-income kids, are going to need more help before they even enter the K-12 system. If we're going to get all kids to reach the standards that we're now setting. Adding the sixth grade to middle school and high school, these are all good things. These are things we should have done a while ago, and other states actually have done before us that we haven't done. Yeah.
So when did the full day kindergarten right now, currently in our district we're supplementing, we pay for kindergarten. Mm-hmm. When does that supposed to take effect? What year is that supposed to take effect?
I'm sure there are people in this room who were following this way. But everybody in 1980 was when so they gave themselves until they took fully, but a couple of years ago they actually adopted they gave themselves 10 years to phase in what they pay.
Being phased in right now. Yeah. For the high poverty areas, it's been phased in, I believe, 20%. And it will be phased in. They'll develop an implementation statement. We don't have that yet. That's why we can't give you an answer. But the idea of this bill is that the entire thing will be fully implemented by 2018. So that doesn't mean that all they can won't have until then. It will be phased. Yes.
And one of the big problems, and one of the reasons why the basic ed bill was so controversial during this legislative session was because it had no way to fund it. It was a promise to fund a lot of new things when even the current definition of basic ed was being underfunded. So that's really the crux of our problem here.
It's like so amazing that it passed.
It is, but it's only step one.
Haven't funded it.
We still have a lot of work to do.
So it's a promise. We have to wait to see if it happens.
So, and of course, as you know, in addition to that increase in K-12 funding that we need to do, we do need to invest a lot more in early learning. And child care teachers are incredibly poorly paid, even though they have such an important job. They make barely above minimum wage typically. And we also need to invest more in higher education. Washington does pretty well relative to other states in terms of our community college enrollment. We're actually that's where we really shine, is in our two-year institutions, community and technical colleges, but 45th in 4-year enrollment, that is pretty darn bad. We basically import a whole lot of college-educated people into our state in order to fulfill the basic needs of the employers in the state, because we have a lot of employers here who have to have college-educated workers.
I'm going to make a comment on the community colleges is that we have over a 25% dropout rate in our first year with community colleges, and that's because over half the kids who enroll in community colleges have to take remedial classes. They're graduating with not enough credits to get into community college. And so they take remedial classes that they're often not prepared for, classes that they have to pay for out of their own pocket, and it's very discouraging. A lot of our kids who are really struggling to be able to justify going to college and not get a job. So, I want to question why we think we might do well. Our outcomes are still not acceptable in regards to community colleges.
One of the big goals of the basic education reform is to address that very problem. make sure that kids are graduating, and way before they get to high school, they're meeting some of those basic. Yes.
Is there any evidence that the abundance of community college enrollment sort of catalyzes four-year college enrollment?
I haven't done the, I'm doing some research on colleges. Not that much precisely. I mean, a lot of people certainly, at least as a money-saving mechanism, and also because it's so hard to get into the four-year system, get their AA degree and then finish up the final 2 years. So that is going to have some, that in and of itself is going to have some impact on four-year enrollment. That's for him.
Isn't that what the core plan is set up for, the core 24 or whatever, so that everyone will graduate high school now with, I mean, if that gets instituted, so that they don't have to take those prerequisite classes at community colleges and things like that? Is that what that's for?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Which leads to the next thing is if we have more kids graduating ready for college, we have to get a place where to go.
Right.
And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So when it's not, when you look at 45th and 4-year enrollment, is that we're really under-enrolled in our colleges, or there just isn't room for more people?
That's, yes, precisely. It's not that we have all these open, empty spaces in our classrooms. That's not the case. It's that we're not providing it to the extent that other states have stepped up and opened up new branch campuses, provided new ways for their young people to get a college degree. We've been somewhat remiss in expanding that access to public higher education.
If there's a problem getting in, is it because the other students in other states are more they score better or higher
Well,
as far as getting in and all that? Then
there are certainly policy decisions in terms of, what percentage of out-of-state students are going to allow versus in-state. And I think that's more of a financial decision to some extent than a quality decision. But we're getting into areas that are a little outside my expertise. So let's move on from there. I really can't. So basically, the issue here is we can't fund a 21st century education system with an early 20th century tax structure, which is the situation that we're in. The taxes that we have, we pretty much maxed out. We can't raise the sales tax much higher than 9.5%. The B&O tax is something that already a lot of businesses here in the state squawk about. It's something that's very unusual. It's on gross receipts rather than on their profits. So it's something that makes Washington kind of an outlier in terms of business taxes. And we've all seen what's happened with property tax initiatives. Property tax is not something that you're going to see very many policy leaders saying, oh yes, let's get rid of property tax some more. So we've kind of maxed out the tax system that we have.
So if the services are not use tax, that is a cost that the businesses would pass on to the consumer anyway. So why is that such a big issue if that's one area that we can start taxing?
To extend the sales tax to more services.
Right.
And that is certainly
Because that's
possible.
more of a progressive tax.
Yes, it is. And that is something that I have advocated. If you go and look at the 2002 Tax Structure Study Commission, the Gates Commission, it was called because Bill Gates Sr. chaired that commission, where they recommended a total overhaul of the state tax system. They recommended doing a progressive income tax, a broad-based progressive income tax, redoing business taxes so it was based on profits and revenue and income rather than on gross receipts, and extending the sales tax to consumer services, not to all services, but at least to the types of services that most consumers use. If you get into problems if you start taxing business-to-business services, because then it becomes sketchier. But yes, that was definitely a recommendation of the Gates Commission. And if you look at EOI's website and our web addresses on every one of these slides, I actually have a policy brief on there about extending sales tax to services that I recommend.